There is a moment each morning, quiet, almost invisible, when the world has not yet entered us. No notifications, no expectations, no comparisons. Just breath and awareness. And in that moment, we are offered a choice most people never realize they are making. To begin the day from sufficiency, or from lack. If we begin from lack, everything that follows becomes a chase. A chase for more comfort, more recognition, more validation. And no matter how much is gained, something within remains unsettled. But if we begin from sufficiency, if we decide, deliberately, that what we have is enough for this moment, something changes at the foundation. The mind steadies. The appetite quiets. And for the first time, we are not being pulled, we are standing. The world does not encourage this. It trains us, slowly and persistently, to feel incomplete. It shows us images of what we could have, what we should have, what others already have, and in doing so, it creates a subtle dissatisfaction that becomes the background noise of our lives. We begin to measure ourselves not by our character, but by our accumulation. And without noticing, we enter a contract. We trade our inner peace for external excess. But those who have watched this process closely, those who have lived long enough to see where it leads, begin to withdraw from it. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, because they have seen what happens when desire is left unchecked. It does not fulfill, it expands. As Seneca observed with unsettling precision, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. This is where the shift begins. Not in the world, but in how we define wealth. We begin to notice something uncomfortable. That the more we depend on external things for comfort, the more fragile we become. If our peace depends on a certain income, then any threat to that income disturbs us. If our confidence depends on a certain lifestyle, then any disruption creates anxiety. If our identity depends on what we display, then we become servants to maintaining that display. And so, what appears as abundance is often hidden dependency, a well-decorated form of vulnerability. This is why some choose, quietly, to step away from excess. Not because they cannot reach it, but because they understand it. They have tasted it or observed it and recognized its nature. It promises satisfaction, but delivers attachment. It offers comfort, but demands maintenance. It elevates status, but increases fear of loss. And so, instead of building a life that requires constant reinforcement, they begin to simplify. Not dramatically, not for appearance, but deliberately. They reduce what they need, not to suffer but to stabilize. They examine their habits, the unnecessary purchases, the subtle dependencies, the small comforts that, over time, became requirements. And they begin to remove what is not essential. At first it feels like loss, but then something unexpected happens. They realize they are still standing, still functioning, still at peace. And this realization carries a quiet power. If I can live with less, then I am no longer afraid of losing more. This is not deprivation. This is freedom. As Epictetus expressed, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Few truly understand the weight of that idea. To have fewer wants is to have fewer chains, fewer conditions that must be met before we allow ourselves to feel at ease, fewer points of failure where life can disturb us. And in that reduction, we do not shrink our life. We strengthen it. There is also a discipline that emerges in how we approach discomfort. Most people organize their lives to avoid it. They seek warmth, ease, convenience, constantly smoothing the edges of existence. But in doing so, they lose something essential: their tolerance. Their resilience, their ability to remain steady when conditions are not ideal. So we begin to reintroduce discomfort, not recklessly, but intentionally. We sit in silence instead of reaching for distraction. We accept simplicity instead of chasing indulgence. We allow moments of inconvenience to exist without immediately correcting them. And in these small acts, we train the mind. We show it that discomfort is not danger, that lack is not collapse, that we are capable of enduring far more than we once believed. This is why the fear of losing luxury begins to fade, because we no longer depend on it. Another shift happens, subtle but profound. We stop performing. Luxury often carries an unspoken demand to be seen, to signal success, to display status, to communicate value through external means. And while this may impress others, it slowly distances us from ourselves, because we begin to act not from intention, but from perception. We ask not, is this necessary? But how will this be perceived? And this question is a dangerous one. It places our peace in the hands of others. It ties our decisions to approval. It makes us actors in a life that should have been lived with sincerity. So we withdraw from that stage. Not entirely, but consciously. We choose what is quiet over what is loud, what is sufficient over what is excessive, what is real over what is displayed. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, very little is needed to make a happy life. And when we test this idea, not intellectually but practically, we begin to see its truth. Comparison, too, begins to lose its grip, because comparison thrives in a mind that measures worth externally. But when we shift our focus inward, toward discipline, clarity, integrity, the metrics change. We are no longer asking, do I have more than others? We are asking, am I in control of myself? And this question has a different weight. It cannot be answered by possessions. It cannot be validated by appearance. It requires honesty. And when we answer it truthfully, something stabilizes within us. We stop chasing what others have, because we are building something they cannot see. At the center of all this is a deeper realization that who we are must not depend on what we own, because everything external is temporary. It can be lost, taken, diminished. But character, if built deliberately, remains. As Epictetus advised, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. So we invest there, in how we think, in how we act under pressure, in how we respond when things do not go our way. This becomes our identity. Not fragile, not dependent, but steady. And then, almost quietly, without announcement, we arrive at a place most never reach. A place where luxury no longer holds power over us. Not because we reject it completely, but because we are no longer impressed by it. We can engage with it without attachment. We can walk away from it without regret, because we have already built something more valuable. A mind that is not easily disturbed. A life that does not require excess to feel complete. A sense of self that does not fluctuate with circumstance. So each morning, we return to the same quiet decision. Not to chase more, but to master enough. And in doing so, we step out of a cycle that consumes so many lives. The endless pursuit, the constant dissatisfaction, the quiet dependence disguised as success. We step into something simpler, but far more powerful. A life where peace is not purchased, but practiced. A life where strength is not displayed, but developed. A life where we are not controlled by what we lack, because we have already learned to live with less. And in that space, we discover a form of wealth that cannot be taken, inflated, or lost. A wealth that does not demand maintenance, a wealth that does not fear change, a wealth that exists entirely within. And once you experience that, truly experience it, you begin to understand why some people, even when they can afford everything, choose less, not because they have failed to reach the top, but because they have seen beyond it. Follow for more powerful mindset shifts.